I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please make note that all the counselors are here. At this time, we're going to have announcements and presentation, recognition of the Youth Action Club members who assist the Conservation, Energy, and Environment Committee on April 14th, Shred Day.
Something good tonight.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm Marie McDonald, and Paula Jones is with me from CEEC, and we're here tonight to say thank you and to say what great youth we have in our town. Odessa Falconer, Ariana Mullings, Kenroy Hines, and Chase Williams, with Mark Mitchell as their staff of the Bloomfield Social and Youth Services Organization, were at our Shred Day and worked harder than anybody. I mean, they had more energy, but they were there from the beginning and they were there till the truck pulled out. They were absolutely unbelievable, and we want to thank them publicly. Camilla. Thank you, guys. Camilla Hillian wants to say a few words, too, about her folks. We at CEEC could not be more grateful for their help. And we shredded 9,500 pounds of paper.
Wow.
That's the second shred day. We had one in the fall and this one in the spring, and we hope to do it twice a year on a continuing basis. We had two town council members help, David and Kevin. Former members of town council came and brought their private stuff to shred. And we had people we had people from every part of the community, and all I can say is thank you, kids. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Now we'll have a little mini presentation from our Youth Action Club, which is a youth leadership group here in Bloomfield. And they do so many things that people aren't even aware of what they do. So they put together a really brief presentation of their group.
All right.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rohana Blackwood. I have been in the Bloomfield Youth Action Club for about 3 years, and I'm one of 4 executive committee members. We have 12 high school youth in the club. This is the 18th year of the Bloomfield Youth Action Club. This group is based off of a few core values: justice, respect, equality, and peace. The Bloomfield Youth Action Club promotes self-respect, dignity, equal treatment for everyone, and youth participation as citizens of the community. The members of the Bloomfield Youth Action Club commit to giving back to the community. We help plan and advise on programs and services at social and youth services. We serve as a voice for our peers, and we choose to lead by example. Since September, each of us has volunteered more than 125 hours in activities and programs that benefit our community.
Good evening. My name is Chase Williams. I've been in the Youth Action Club for 2 years. I am a member of the executive committee. Club members participate in activities and trainings that help us to be successful. In addition to team building training sessions at social and youth services, members had the opportunity to attend 2 Connecticut Youth Forum meetings with 150 youth from around the state. The forums focused on challenges and stresses that impact our lives and the consequences of youth use of alcohol and other drug uses. We attend a weekend leadership retreat at Camp Jewel to improve our team building and leadership skills. The retreat also helped us to develop positive relationships and stronger bonds between members. We believe that these trainings help the club to be more successful, and we believe that we learn helps us to be better human beings.
My name is Alex Grassi. I have been in the Youth Action Club for the past 2 years, and I am a member of the executive committee. Some community events that we have service events we've been able to do this year are the Boo Bash, 3 Friday night dance parties for middle school youth, 4 intergenerational events with senior citizens, including a holiday party, Mardi Gras celebration, and 2 happy hours, when we served mocktails, appetizers, desserts, and enjoyed live music by keyboard players. We organized Feet on the Ground, a walk to benefit Hands on Hartford. We teamed up with a youth services middle school leadership group called Vibe, and with members from the police department. The walk generated over $1,200 that was donated to programs that help support homeless individuals served by Hands on Hartford. This weekend, some of us will be going on a youth services trip to Harlem with members of the police department and other youth. We will be doing a 2-hour civil rights tour and visiting the Apollo Theater. We feel the Youth Action Club helps us become well-rounded individuals. We enjoy being together and contributing to our community. The experiences we have allow us to make connections to others in the community and build our personal skills and character. We are proud of our accomplishments and hope that we can continue to support and serve our community as members of the Youth Action Club. Thank you for your time.
These are a group of youth leaders who make us very proud. Born and raised in Bloomfield, so we're proud of you guys, and we wish you nothing but the best for the future. Unfortunately, Pat Managia, who's our youth services coordinator, was unable to be here with us today, and she spearheads this group. She is the driving force behind this group, and we do want to give her a round of applause. She may be watching tonight. But she does great programming with our youth, so we thank you for your time.
Thank you. Little bright spot there.
Repaired, complete brand new roof. 3 months after the work was completed, through the contractor that was hired by the town of Bloomfield, we were not given the option to choose a contractor. The town did all that. They negotiated the price. They took care of everything. The only thing we were responsible for were to pick out the materials that we wanted to use in our home. 3 months after my roof was repaired, completely new roof, water started coming in. At that time, I complained to the town. I was told that they were going to take care of it. They were going to get in touch with the contractor. We did get in touch with the contractor. The contractor came out, told me it was my gutter. It was not my gutter. Water started coming in. I woke up another day and my ceiling was brown. At that time, I contacted the inspector from Bloomfield, and I think it was another person that was in charge of planning and zoning at the time. Joe, I can't even think of his name right now. However, all we've been doing is getting a run around. I've been complaining to the town for the past 5 years now. It got to the point where I have had to have my insurance company involved, which got in touch with the town and told them the urgency of the repair of my roof. Nothing was done. I was completely ignored. I'm not here to point fingers. I just need to know what the town is going to do, because now I have mold and mildew growing in my attic. I've been out of my home for a year and no one has assisted me. I've had to pay 2 mortgages. The mortgage on the property that I can't stay in, I've had to pay for the upkeep of that property, as well as the high taxes on the property that's now depreciated. The town of Bloomfield has made promises that they have not kept. No one has negotiated anything. I need to know, what is the town going to do? I need help. I'm here to be heard along with the other 3 residents whose home is being destroyed. It's just appalling to sit here and listen to the town discuss 90-something thousand for a golf course, another 30-something thousand for a walking trail, $49 for a hamburger, and I've been out of my house for a whole
By way of background, the town of Bloomfield entered into agreements with the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development and the State Department of Housing back in the 1990s for a small cities block grant or community development block grant program that provides loans to homeowners with grants. And those loans are then to be repaid to the town. So loans were given out in the 1990s and in the early 2000s, and there was a sufficient repayment of the loans that were given out at that particular point in time that allowed the town to start a second or third round of loans in the 2011-2012 timeframe. There were 16 loans that were given out. 12 of those loans were signed for. 4 of the loans were not signed for. Ms. Anderson is one of the 4. There are 3 others. The town has been trying to negotiate through the attorney, dealing with insurance attorneys and insurance companies and contractors' insurance companies to get a resolution to the problem. 3 of the 4 loans that are still outstanding are being represented by one attorney. The town attorney has been in discussions with that attorney, and I'm hoping that we'll get some resolution to these problems shortly. Other than that, the attorneys are basically dealing with it, and it may end up in court at some particular point with the contractors and the insurance companies to recover the issues. So that's kind of the status at this point in time, and I hope that you'll be getting a call from your attorney shortly, Ms. Anderson, concerning the issue. So.
Yes, and the taxes that's being charged and billed on my property with the property value depreciated, that needs to be addressed. I don't think it's fair to me to pay full taxes on a property value that you depreciated. I'm stuck paying the mortgage on a house that I can't live in. I have to pay mortgage on a property that I'm supposed to making money off of an investment. Now I have to live in the property that I'm supposed to have as an investment. So I'm left paying 2 mortgages. What is the town of Bloomfield going to do to help me?
There's an appeal process through the assessor's office. I'll have the assessor call you, and you can have your taxes reduced, I would imagine, through the appeal process, but whatever the depreciated value might be. That's available to any taxpayer when there's a significant change in the value of the property due to a variety of circumstances.
And is the town going to go back and credit me for 5 years?
I don't know. I'll have to talk with the assessor. I'm not familiar with all of the details of the program.
And Tom Hooper was the former town manager. And even trying to get copies of documents was like pulling teeth. I had to threaten him by going to the Attorney General's office to get copies of documentation. No documents were provided to us. The price were not discussed with us. As a matter of fact, 2 of the residents didn't even know the cost of the repair to their home until I gave them the price, because it seems as if I was the only one who had copies of the documents, which I received from the town of Bloomfield in an unsealed envelope. All my personal and confidential information was returned to me in an unsealed envelope. I saved it. I just need help. I need this resolved as soon as possible. I really do. I need to get back in my home. It's been my home for 20 years. The home I raised my 3 children in and my grandkids. I need to get back in it. I can't even walk through it now. It's heartbreaking. I I spent a lot of money on that property. That's my investment. That's my children's inheritance. The town of Bloomfield needs to step up to the plate and do what it promised me to do a year ago, and that's expedite this so I could get my home cleaned back up and get back in it. I need to be home, really. It's affecting me physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, every which way you could think of. This is my life. My life, Bloomfield. Stop playing with it. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sylvia Oliver?
That's all right. That's all right.
It's okay, sweetie. All right. It's okay. I know. I'm just overwhelmed. It's just...
I don't even know how to talk on one of these things. Hello, everybody. Hi. My name is Sylvia Oliver, and I had to get this child up off my floor when she walked in and told me what was going on. I say, for the name, I'm a praying woman. I say, honey, that's all we can do right now is pray to get you up. And I'm telling you, every bit what she been through, I said, I wish I had the money. I would ignore everything. But I don't have it, honey. You have been through the worst. I say the devil done tap dance on you. Now let me tell you, there's so much of you. I just got out of my sick bed. But I'm proud to say I'll help anybody that been misused. I've been to a house where it was nice. She just put a new counter down and everything. The main thing, y'all, she get rid of that contract. He's going around pulling the bully willy on people. And let me tell you one thing. I worked at WIMO. And whenever somebody made a complaint, I was in the union. Everybody had to answer to that complaint. John and Mom, they didn't take it. This child shouldn't, if a contract ain't no good, y'all are appalling him by letting him continue work for you. Get a new one. I help you get one, I know. Now do better by people. This is a nice town and I like it. But my God, don't sit on there one by one sitting down. Get up. If you can't do nothing else, pray. Thank you. I'm a praying woman. I like to preach on y'all.
Errol Goodison, 6 Wobbler Circle, right here in town. That's a tough act to follow right there. Right, on whether we got to pray. I'm part with the parents, concerned parents of town here, and we've been working with, we've been trying to work with the school board for 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years now we've been trying to work with the school board. I had some mothers here that have been taking their hard-earned time away from their children, going through the budget. We looked through the budget. We seen some discrepancies. Numbers weren't matching. We bought it out, sat down with Dr. Thompson and the board, discussed it, showed them where the holes were, where the loopholes were. Now we get a letter today, dated May 29th, saying thank you for advocating for our children, family, and community. Engagement is one of Bloomfield Public's key priorities. I was going to read this thing, but in a nutshell, they're saying thanks, but no thanks. They've heard enough from us. It's funny that I was kind of shocked to see that story in the article about the $50 hamburger, which, okay, it's a bit excessive. Oh, $49, $50, round up. But when you take it out of context, I'm looking at how many people are here. And to know that at least the money we can account for, and it was being spent right here in town at Carbone's, right here in the Republic, we know where the money went. But when I can stand here and tell you that up at the high school, the athletic director is paying her better half a coaching stipend for something that she didn't do, which was over $3,000, and no one called the newspaper or said anything. It was brought to the Board of Education, and we were told that they were going to look into it, and supposedly now they're going to address it, and hopefully she would pay that money back and everything else. But I find it ironic, that was over $3,000. Now, the thing that really hurts was the mother that was doing the job, she dismissed her. I guess there was a problem with her and the kids. Another mother stepped up and volunteered to coach those kids and was basically told there's no money in the budget to pay her, so it was a volunteer thing. But yet she found $3,000 to pay her better half. Now, if you go back and look, there's much more there. I won't even get into it right now. But I will say this. We have tried. We're trying to work with them. If it's this the direction that they want to go, so be it. Just know that we are working with you, and we're going to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Angelique Crosdale, 18 Greenbrier Drive, Bloomfield, Connecticut. So I was among the first of the parents who tried to advocate with the Board of Education, in particular Dr. Thompson and the current chair, Mr. Harris. What I can't understand is the fact that we have a superintendent that was voted man of the year, basically, principal of the year, Superintendent of the Year, basically for the whole state of Connecticut. We have Mr. Harris, who is jockeying for the president of the Craig School Board on the neck and on the back and on the chest of our children, while our children are failing. Third grade kids, 69.4% of them are failing literacy. Fourth grade student, 57.6% are failing literacy. Fifth grade students, 63.5% are performing below average. Sixth grade, 39.3% are performing below average. Seventh grade, 64.8% are performing below average. 58.4% for eighth grade, that's literacy, math. 68.9% of the third graders are below average. 77% are performing below average for the fourth graders. 86.1% are performing below average for fifth graders. Sixth graders, 50.9% are performing below average. 79% for seventh graders and 68.3% for eighth graders. And Tamina will talk about the rest of the school district. But yet, we have an article in the Hartford Courant talking about a $49 hamburger and the makings of that hamburger, the ingredients in that hamburger. While for 3 years we have come to this council, we have sat at the board and talk about the disparities from a systematic standpoint in our academic gains for our student, lack of academic gains for our student. We have spent more than $40 million each year, almost a half of our budget, on our educational system in our district. Yet the gains are nothing. Oh, no, the gains are something. Dr. Harris, Superintendent of the Year. Donna Harris, if he stays on the board and be re-elected in 2019, become the president of Craig Schools Board, while I just recited the numbers for you. We'll pass them out to you. Our kids are failing. $40-something million we spend each year on our kids. $49 make the Hartford Courant. What is it? Because it's black and brown kids, they're not important? Is that it? Does it take one of them to murder somebody before you come to their school to talk about the murder and not about their academics? What will it take for somebody to get to Dr. Harris and Mr. Harris and Dr. Thompson to tell them that, yes, we know that you recognize that there are disparities, because you pointed to it in your budget book. This data came from their own budget book. We didn't make this up. This data you can find on the state website. We didn't make this up. They have acknowledged that there are gaps in the system. They have acknowledged that they need to fix it. The principal have highlighted what it would have taken to fix it for the upcoming school year. But yet in that letter that we've just distributed, they have closed the door once more on us. What will it take? Yes, Council, I thank you. You're the first body that actually listened to us, and I really appreciated that. But this is not enough. This is not enough. We cannot allow Dan Harris and Dr. Thompson to continue putting a blindfold on folks by not showing the true state of our school system. This is just not happening in the high school. It's not in the middle school. It is from kindergarten all the way up to the high school. You'll hear more from my other parent bodies that are going to speak tonight. This is your town. This is our town. If we don't do right by our kids, guess what? We'll be an aging town forever. People know Bloomfield as a senior citizen town. Our kids will go away and not come back. There's nothing here for them but bad memories. I'm really trying to appeal to you today. I'm calling for Don Harris's resignation. I'm calling for Dr. Thompson's resignation because they're not taking us seriously. I'm going to set a petition tomorrow to get rid of Don Harris and to get rid of Dr. Thompson, and I'm serious about it. And if I have to mortgage my house to file a lawsuit against this town, I will do it to benefit my child and to benefit my niece and my nephews and their future wives and husbands. I mean it. You guys need to really take this serious. If this was West Hartford and a different skin tone, this room would have been packed with parents and news reporters. And the $49 hamburger would not be the talk of the town. It would be the academic lack thereof gains to our children. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Leon Rivers, 24 Stewart Drive, Bloomfield. I guess the $49 hamburger is resonating throughout the town. When I first heard about it, I was appalled because I sat where these folks are sitting for 10 years. And I don't understand how we could have gotten ourselves into those kind of situations. Because currently, we look at the makeup of our town. We have a town manager form of government with a mayor who acts to run the meetings and et cetera for the town council. We do not have a strong mayor. I went to a budget meeting And at that budget meeting, the mayor said, maybe you could develop some fund so that when I have to represent the town, I could buy a new dress or get my hair done. This is absurd. Everybody's a volunteer here. I volunteered for 10 years, and I don't think that we need to look at those kind of things. The town manager has the option or the duty to run the town on a daily basis. He's entrusted to promote the programs that are necessary to move this town forward. The items that are in front of the present are not your initiative. I know they're not. However, one council passes things on to the other. In order to keep the town from digressing, we hope that the current council will support the initiatives that are on the table, such as Philly Park, where we have been criticized for being slow in the development of Philly Park. But it took us over 3 years to get the Army Corps of Engineers to allow us to dredge that pond. But the present council was not aware of that, so they used that as a ploy to get support. But we were begging the Army Corps of Engineers, let us do that. We have a big project on Toby Road that's waiting to be completed. We have to follow through on it. The sidewalks on Mountain Avenue it's under the works right now. It should have been started already. We look at our town green. The contractor came in the winter and tore up the place and then walked away. But we can't allow that to happen to us. It's a shame that it looks so bad. Everybody was concerned all winter. What happened? What happened? Well, obviously the guy probably had another job, so he tied up a few other jobs, and now he's back trying to get it squared away. So consequently, we cannot use our green this year. We will not use it for the concerts because right now it's a mess. So I'm saying to the present council, get behind the town manager. Help him to promote the things that are on the table, because they're yours. We passed them on, but they're yours now. Thank you.
Linda Pagani, 4 Guernsey Road. Well, I guess good people can disagree. I wanted to talk about the policy on meals at budget meetings. And I just want to say that I support the council. I don't have any problem with anything that was done. What I'm shocked at is that this is news, that this is page 1 news above the fold in the Hartford Courant, wondering why. When I do the math, it said in one or both of the articles about $2,500 for 8 meetings. That's $312 a meeting. The previous council, who I don't begrudge having meals, $1,400 divided by 5, that's $280 a meeting. So it's big news for the $32 a meeting discrepancy, I guess. That's the big news from Bloomfield. And I think it's a gracious gesture that you would make to apologize, but I don't think you've done anything to apologize for. I don't think you have anything to be embarrassed about. In fact, I thank you for giving up your free time. You stepped up to the plate. You ran. You're public servants who do not get paid. For the staff people, I've seen you at meetings. I do not begrudge you for getting meals. I'm glad we're a community that wants to feed our public servants. The staffers just conduct themselves with the utmost professional decorum, always. Many people don't have time to eat before meetings. I know a lot of you have young families, or even not. You have families, work, or your other personal responsibilities. I don't expect you to run around and not eat and come, and that just adds to your stress. I don't want anyone here to get stressed out so much that they get sick. I don't think our community wants to shame public servants for eating, and I think some shaming is behind this. Again, I support this council and all the previous ones and the staff in having the town pay for its meals before budget meetings. And I don't think that anyone is here, I don't think anyone comes to work for the town of Bloomfield, I don't think anyone runs for public office because they think they're going to get luxury meals paid for. So thank you all for your service, including the staff people.
Good evening. My name is Patrine Davis, 84 Inglewood Avenue. I'm one of the concerned parents. Since 2016, myself and other parents have been apprising you of the crisis our Bloomfield school system is facing. It came to our attention after looking at the state of our schools, particularly our middle school. We discovered that a total, not $49, but a total of $2,568,689 were removed from our 5 public schools general fund and diverted elsewhere during a 3-year period from 2014 through to 2016. We don't know where that money went. People always ask me, I don't know. In 2015, the Board of Ed received an increase of 1.85%. That's an amount of $712,978. And in 2016, they also received 2.49 increase. That's $976,122. Today, our town pays over $42 million for education. That comprises of 47% of the entire town's budget. And our schools are still in dire state. A group of us parents has been meeting with the superintendent, chairperson, and principals to work out a plan to improve our schools. Today, the superintendent, Dr. Thompson, and chairman, Mr. Harris, informed us that they have no such interest for improvement in our new school, in the new school year, even after receiving an increase of over $800,000. Dr. Thompson and Mr. Harris clearly proved to us parents that they're only exploiting our children for their own gains. They have no interest in our children. For our students that are doing, before I get to that, also Mr. Harris, he's the chairman of the Democratic Party, so I believe there's definitely a conflict of interest. I'm not sure whose interest he has, but it's definitely not our school, not our kids. All right, so for our students that are doing well in school, they will work with them. For the others that are not doing so well, too bad for them and their parents. It's time for these 2 men to resign from our school district so that we can have the high-performing schools we desire. In such a small school district with only 1,615 students attending our 5 public schools, we should be able to provide our children with a first-class education they deserve using a budget of over $42 million. As graduation approaches for Bloomfield High, only 24.8% of our students are prepared to attend college. This is per U.S. News. Bloomfield High School is not even ranked in their survey of high schools in Connecticut for 2018. So we need to get our students on track. We need them to be meeting grade level goals and beyond. Only 15% of our high school students is meeting the goal in math and 45% meeting literacy goal. All of our students should be able to meet math and reading level skills. Therefore, a group of committed and active parents of Bloomfield students is hereby requesting an audit of the Bloomfield school system, and also we're hereby requesting that Mr. Harris and Dr. Thompson resign from our school district. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I read the article about
Can you state your name and address?
My name is Tamina Follins. My address is 1067 Blue Hills Avenue. I read the email about the gourmet burger for $49, and that wasn't the thing that caught my attention. The thing that caught my attention was it seemed pretty equal to what the previous year's councils had done as well. So that wasn't surprising to me. I was surprised as to why it was news, when there's so much more concerning issues that we as a town have, especially when it comes to our children's education. I'm someone who likes to look into the information myself and dig and see what it is actually saying to me. I looked at the SAT data from 2016-2017, and what that data showed me as a parent was very concerning. It showed me that the mass majority of our high school juniors who take the SAT throughout the state, the whole entire state, all of the juniors throughout the state are taking the SAT on Connecticut SAT Day. Our data showed that 57% of our juniors that took the SAT in 2016-2017, and this data is available on the Connecticut website for education, 57% did not meet grade level expectations in the eyes of the SAT. And what that meant was more than the majority of our students in the area of language arts are not performing on grade level when it comes to language arts. It was even more surprising when it came to math. When I looked at the math numbers, I almost cried. It was 87%, no, excuse me, let me correct myself. It was less than that, 83.4%. Are not performing on grade level when it comes to math. And yes, they do spell it out in that way. They put them in a level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Level 3 and level 4 are those students that are performing at goal on grade level or above. Level 2s and level 1s are not meeting grade level expectations. They're not performing on grade level. How does that translate for us? Well, they also show trend data for our graduating class. In 2015-2016, we graduated 111 students, right? Out of that 111 students, guess how many went to college? Let me find my data. Sorry. About 80. About 80, that's great, right? 93.3% of that 111 students that graduated out of 119 that should have graduated went off to college. But the state also shows you a little bit more information. In correction, it wasn't 80%, it was more like 73%. Out of that 73% that went off to college that first year after graduation, guess how many went back? Less than 50%. Less than 50% of that 111 students went back to college the following year. What does that mean to us as a town? Well, there's a couple of things that data is not showing us. It's not showing us the percentage of those students of that 111 graduating class, out of that 80 students that went to college, how many of those 80 students had to take those non-credited math and language arts courses that are not free, but they're not worth graduating credit? And guess who pays for it? We parents do. We're paying for it now while they're in school, and we pay for it again because our school district is failing to prepare them for life after high school. Yeah, we're graduating a large percentage of students, but guess what? How many of them are really going off and really becoming successful in life after high school? I'm not comfortable saying, my son is going to Bloomfield High School. I feel scared to death because they're showing me on a continuous basis that they really don't care about my child. They could care less about educating him. They could care less about educating his friends. They could care less about educating your children that may be coming through the system, or your grandchildren, or your friends' children. Because the data is showing us that they don't care. If you are performing where every single grade is performing below grade level, more than half, that's saying to me as a parent, there's a systemic issue throughout our educational system. And we need to make some serious changes. We're very top-heavy when it comes to salaries at the district. How does that translate to bodies in the classroom? Our classroom sizes are really kind of large. They're steadily increasing. The composition of the classroom is changing. There's a more diverse student body. More children are coming from areas where they're really, really far behind. And you know what happens to that child that's in a classroom that's several grades behind where the teacher is actually instructing? The teacher tends to look at them as a problem child. Instead of identifying what the issue is and focusing in on how to meet that child's need, they have a behavioral issue. It's clear that that's what our district does. When you have a school, Metacomet, who instead of implementing resources to meet the dire need of our students who are performing below grade level when it comes to language arts, math, and we could even pull in science because they're below on that too. Look at the state data. They implemented a behavioral intervention specialist. They found money for that. No one asked any questions. So it's okay. It's okay not to meet our children's needs because no one is holding our district accountable. Ms. Sylvia said something that really caught my attention. She said, you have to do right by people. Who's going to do right by our children? Or are we going to just stand idly by and let whatever happens, happens? Because in my eyes, it looks like we're leading them to the prison system or to death. Let's be real. That's where it says our kids are going if they're not performing at grade level by third grade. So I see we have a problem in Bloomfield that needs to be identified, and some changes need to be implemented. Very serious changes, and we do not have time as a luxury.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Troy. I'm not actually from Bloomfield. I'm from Farmington, but I am a reporter, well, technically an intern, but anyway, I work for WTIC, the radio station. I don't know if any of you know who Todd Feinberg is, but I work directly for him. He's my boss. Rickford, I'm the guy who actually called you like 8 times to try to get you on his show, so it's nice to meet you in person. So, anyway, I just kind of wanted to get up here for a second because I just kind of wanted to sort of ask you guys some questions. And just to preface this is nothing personal. I just have to do my job in order to get the credits. And so I know there was a woman that said that kind of the hamburger and the food stuff kind of didn't really matter, but I have to respectfully disagree. I think it does matter because I think it's really a matter of principle on just the way you guys are behaving. My father raised me to, basically told me that it's, the man who stands by his principles is, how he defines himself. And, I just kind of wanted to ask you what were the precise procedures in place, beforehand that kind of let you sort of believe that it was okay for you to be ordering this expensive food on taxpayer dollars, and what procedures are in place now to kind of remedy the situation?
If you hang around, it's going to be on the agenda.
Yeah, I know, but I just kind of wanted to get up here and kind of hold your feet to the fire a little bit because I'm a really committed intern.
So, because you may not know, usually when citizen statements and petitions happen, it's just that, a statement.
Okay.
So the question and answer thing, we don't really do that. But if you hang around, you will get some.
That I do. I was writing that down as well, so I was very. I would be interested in that. So just to clarify, I can hang around and ask my questions afterwards? Oh no, I'm willing to talk to you guys outside. I mean them after for my original story.
Is there anyone else on that?
Oh, I believe that. Absolutely. I do believe that, Sam.
I have to call order.
So, yeah.
So, once again, I think we tried to state the policy of how the agenda is run.
Okay.
So, once again, I'm going to ask you just to wait until we come up to that point. If you have questions after that, we can speak to the council or anyone after the meeting.
Okay. This is my first town council meeting.
I know.
So
I'm just trying to help you out.
I'm sorry if I created a disturbance, but yeah, okay.
Thank
you for your time.
Not a problem. He's an intern. Is there anyone else on the?
Come on down. What are we giving away today?
Refrigerator. TV.
Good evening. My name is Angeline Crosdale from 6 Andrea Lane, Bloomfield, Connecticut. I'm appalled at what Dr. Thompson sent us this evening as a parent, and I am also going to call that he resign and that Mr. Harris also join him in it. I actually offered them a package a couple weeks ago. I'm going to take that back, and I'm going to suggest that we just fire them. Okay, because it's embarrassing as parents from Bloomfield schools that we have 2 people that we cannot hold accountable to the future of our children. This information I got from the last meeting that we attended, and it's about maths for 6th through 8th graders. 62% of the 8th graders, right now 6th graders, are failing math in the middle school. 61% is failing maths in the 7th grade. 63% is failing maths in the 8th grade. 50% is failing English in the 6th grade. 52% is failing English in the 7th grade. 50% is failing English in the 8th grade. If this is not news, I don't know what it is. We talked about $42 million that is spent for the school year each year in Bloomfield. They actually admitted in our meetings that we had with them that they know that we have a problem. We identified 15 positions that they could fill, and they agreed with us that they could support those that gap and fill those 15 positions. They admit to us that they have money in the DPEC, $9,500 they had in that budget. $600,000 was in RFP. They have money. They have $500,000 sitting somewhere else. They admit 2 weeks ago that they had money that they could use to support these 15 teachers or 15 positions. And so when Dr. Thompson and Mr. Harris sent us that letter this evening, I was appalled that they don't want to work with us as parents anymore because they were afraid. And they actually said that we were inconsiderate and that we wanted too much. As parents, shouldn't we want more for our children? As parents, shouldn't we want more for our town? And why is it that those two men are making the decisions for our children's future? And why are we as town people sitting around and making them make those decisions for us? It's time News Media, NBC, Hartford Current, Mr. Good, it's time that you come and attend one of our meetings and get involved with the town future. Mr. Harris has his son-in-law, Bobby Gibson, teaching science in the school system, and he's missing 3/4 of the time in the school system. The school has one science teacher, and he's that science teacher. My daughter goes to 7th grade next year, and God forbid, if he misses one day, he's going to hear from me every single day. He doesn't know his students. So how can Mr. Harris, as a person, as a grandparent that he brags about, encourage this type of issue in our school systems and embrace it? I am asking for the resignation. Actually, I want us to fire them. I take that back. I want us to fire both Dr. Thompson and Mr. Harris. We got to figure out a way how to do it as a town. We put them into this in the office that they're in. We got to figure out how to get them out as parents. Thank you.
He's an intern. Oh, God. Oh, wow.
Good evening, council members, Madam Mayor, fellow citizens, and visitors. My name is Kevin Hussein, live at 95 Woodland Ave. I just like to commend the parents for doing the work they're doing with the Bloomfield youths in our school system. I must say that my daughter is in one of the correct schools in Bloomfield, and honestly, I think this struggle is actually also in the correct school system too. And unfortunately, there seems to be a common denominator. I'll leave it at that, because it seems to me like the politics is just, it's ugly business. Part of the reason I say that, it seems like it's a good old boys club. It seems like it's just widespread. And anyway, I don't want to defer from that, but it is ugly business in that, the optics doesn't look good. I agree, especially with the $49 burger and the filet mignon and the salmon and stuff like that. It doesn't look good. I agree. But honestly speaking, I must say that. Coming back to the ugliness of politics, and no disrespect to the past or the previous council, but I think they seem a little salty, because I think a lot of this comes from that. And I believe, and again, this is speculation, that the media was given this information from previous or past people that are affiliated with council or friends of the council. And I think I was part of the endorsed slate that lost to most of the current council. But what I've done so far is actually work, because my agenda was to let Bloomfield come first, and it always has been. And I think I think if we can kind of put that aside, and I'll just tell you what I'm doing right now to help that. I'm part of the Human Services or the Building Committee for the new 330 Park Ave. I've put in almost over 100 plus hours in that. I think we were fed once, but sorry, I had to put that in there. But I must say, but in addition to that, I've been a new member of the Inland Wetlands Commission. I've also did some work on the CEC before I even got involved. I'm also a member of my DTC, which in fact I was spent almost 2 days at the convention. The Democratic Town Committee had their convention. And I'm also a full-time employee for a business in Connecticut. I'm also a full-time parent, father, and the reason I'm telling you all of this is because they do this plus 5 times that amount. So, and the reason I'm saying this, and again, I commend you guys for putting in all that time and doing that, and I just want to, commend you guys for hopefully coming up with a resolution, because as I said, the optics doesn't look that good, and I think you guys are coming in with some resolutions that may help, clear the picture, but I'd like us to refocus on giving the Young Town Council an opportunity to focus on policies and procedures that they've started on, like Board of Ed, doing their due diligence on the Human Services building. They're looking at, reducing their taxes and the environment and the quality of life in Bloomfield. At the end of the day, Bloomfield must win, and we got to work together doing that. So all the extra stuff that goes into it, we need to put that aside and just put Bloomfield first. So again, congrats and trying to put in some new policy that addresses that, but let's just give them an opportunity to do their job. And I must say though, if we have to admit that we made a mistake, and if some of you guys would like to admit it, I think that clears the air, put it behind us and move forward. Because if I made a mistake, I'll come forward and say, you know what, I made a mistake, but let's put that behind us. So again, thank you very much and continue doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Mark Saunders, 13 Pent Road, Bloomfield, here in town. So I also want to thank you for your time and service. I know how much time goes into it all. I too am a member of the Democratic Town Committee, joined after in this whole process, starting with Niagara and getting more involved politically. I haven't done much in the way of politics my whole life, so I feel like it's my time to step up and spend the time. I was at the 2-day convention also that Kevin mentioned, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of waiting, a lot of slow time, a lot of sleep time, and once in a while, a nice meal sounds good. So I'm looking forward to whatever you have to say about that, but I don't begrudge you that, especially since it fits in the criteria of what's happened in the past. What I am tired of hearing is the past council looking for ways to pick a fight with this new council instead of supporting them. They lost the election, and I wish they would just step back. One person in particular seems to be mentioned in a lot of current articles, and I'm tired of seeing her name registered as a part of, we don't have, there's no love lost there, it's very plain, but I wish she would just be more willing to support the town council that has been duly elected by a 2/3 majority to go ahead and do what they've been assigned to do, which they are doing. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, I would like to thank everyone for their comments, especially the parents who have taken time to do their homework. I appreciate that. I thank those who support the council. It is a hard job, and I believe that we were elected to do that job, so we don't complain about that job. It is a little disheartening that the former council want to pick a fight. I don't think they want to pick a fight. I think they're trying to shame the current council. And what they don't understand is they're putting a tarnish on our town. That is sad, right? Because if the council succeeds, our town succeeds. If the council fails, our town fails. I want to just, if you would indulge me for a minute, all our budget sessions, we have a clerk of the council who takes very good notes, and she also records our sessions to make sure that she has good notes. And former Councilor Rivers made a statement that said the mayor, meaning me, asked for a line item for clothing and hair. I'm a natural girl, Mr. Rivers. My hair don't cost that much. But just to be clear, during that meeting, what was said was, and I think it was the first council deliberation night, there should be some funds set aside for purchasing tickets when the council is representing the town at events that have a cost, when council is present and requested to be available to attend certain events. There was a discussion about this addition to the budget. Sid mentioned that previous council paid their own. It was the consensus that if a council person is on a program, most time tickets are comped. I mentioned that I pay for my hair and my dress in addition to paying for my tickets. So let's be clear. I never requested a budget for clothing and or hair. So I want us to get that clear. And I'm also, at this particular point, I'm also asking the former council to help this council to move our town along. There are things that we have inherited, like Philly Park or the town green, that we are trying to do due diligence to make sure it gets done for the sake of our town. Not to say that we did anything as a council more than help to move the process along.
We have dialogue tonight?
We're not having dialogue. I'm just answering something that you put out there for public consumption. I just wanted to make that clear. So once again, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for speaking up. And as the parents rightly said, what's going on with our children, that should be news. Everything else, we as a council could work out if we had the information prior to it appearing in the newspaper. So once again, thank you. At this time, we will have council subcommittee reports, admin and education, Deputy Mayor Richford Curtin.
Good evening, everyone. I'll wait for
the exodus.
Yep. So, Mayor, Admin Education had a special meeting today at 5 o'clock where we discuss the current news, no pun intended, about the $49 burger. My thing was for us to pause the current practice as far as purchasing meals at budget sessions and work with the council to come up with a policy. Because the fact of the matter is, this happened because there weren't a policy in place. There weren't any oversight. What needs to be clear, an email went out to each council members to order a meal. If it wasn't for the Hartford Current that posted what the total meal cost for the 8 days, I was clueless. I didn't know what my colleagues ordered, or I didn't seek to explain what they were eating. And I didn't know what a $49 burger was before the current article. So what I would say, it wasn't intentional. It was an oversight. We need to come together to make sure it doesn't happen again. You know, I'm hoping that that individual would take personal responsibility. I don't think it was intentional. It was just a lapse in judgment. So I believe going forward, the council, if they choose to, personally, my opinion is I don't need to be fed by the town. I appreciate it. If I'm going to come to a town budget to sit here all night until 11 o'clock, I want to make sure I have a decent meal. You know, I'm just stating a fact. I would prefer to go home and sit and have a meal with my family before coming to a meeting. So my recommendation is either to come up with something or to do away with the practice if it's going to cause this much heartache. It's embarrassing to have phone calls, people leaving message talking about you guys are stealing the taxpayers' dollars. You guys are basically dishonest. If it wasn't for the current article, we wouldn't be apologizing. No one knew about what was ordered. And I just want to make that clear. None of us knew exactly who was ordering what. It was a personal responsibility for each and every one of us to order something that was reasonable. Apparently it didn't happen. So I just want to say that the committee's recommendation to this council is to put a pause right now on the practice to come up with a policy, and that was recommended tonight. Now, as far as who's going to apologize for what they did, that's a personal responsibility. So that's all I have to report, Madam Mayor, for the meeting this evening. Thank you.
Finance, Councilor Goff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's not much to report since we have not had a Finance Committee. We had the May Finance Committee meeting before the last council meeting, and the June Finance Committee meeting will not be until June 18th. I would, however, like to report the sad news for the town that we have received the resignation of our finance director. It is not anything dealing with the town. It is because our finance director has decided to pursue his dreams in another career path, and we all wish him well. He's done a wonderful job, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McCleary, Public Safety.
Madam Mayor, there's no updates from the Public Safety Committee since our last meeting. Our next scheduled meeting is on the second Monday of next month.
Committee on Committee, Councilor Mann, and then you can also do Land Use and Economic Development.
Okay. Madam Mayor, thank you. The Committee on Committees met on May 21st to review and recommend council appointments to the Commissions on Aging, Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission, both of which were available for action on this agenda. The Land Use and Economic Development Committee met on the 15th of May to consider inclusion of the town in the Sustainable Connecticut program. The committee expressed support for the program intent and wanted to be assured of a successful outcome. However, we felt more information was needed as to how the town would organize itself to undertake this task. Therefore, further consideration and the recommendation to the full council was tabled a month pending that information. And the committee also did hear from staff regarding implementation of the new MS4 stormwater regulations and management practices. We heard from the staff 2 months prior when we asked the same questions. These are new regulations and they're going to take an effort of people and time. How are we going to manage that? We didn't have an answer back 2 months ago, but at the May 15th meeting, staff came back and reported on how they plan to carry out the management of the MS4 process, and based on that, the committee voted to move forward and make a recommendation here to the council tonight. Final action of that same committee meeting was a second session that we held to discuss the town's economic development strategy. The participation of the EDC chair, that's Economic Development Commission, and vice chair and their consultant, we focused on changing market characteristics of our town as an inner ring suburb and their impact upon the future. We focused on ideas to further define our strategy in dealing with key properties in the downtown and other retail areas like Blue Hills Avenue. This is the second of a series of meetings that we held with the EDC and their consultants as we tried to fashion a economic development strategy for our town. That completes my report.
Thank you. Golf, Councilor Merritt.
Yes, thank you.
We had a golf committee meeting tonight, and we've been going through a process of doing a review of actually going out for bids on the management of the golf course, which is something overdue after 15 years, and we're doing it as a matter of form, not that we're particularly unhappy with the present management. It's just that it's something you should do after 15 years. We should have probably done it after 5 years, but anyway, we're doing it now, and it takes quite a bit of time, so it isn't something that necessarily be wrapped up within a year or in the next 6 months. But one of the things we want to do before that is to get a master plan for improvements to the golf course and an assessment of what the current conditions are. And this is something that Tim Libby, the engineer that under Pete Dye designed the course.
may give, or we may go out for bids on it. That's something that remains to be decided, but the thought is that maybe we ought to be using our capital budget money, already budgeted for that, as a worthwhile thing, because we really, before you go out and talk to people about running a course, you need to know where you've been, where you're going, and kind of an assessment that interviews people, and we find out what's thought about what we're doing. So that's the main thing that's happening. But I'd like to go over some of the things that are of interest to. Lots going on at the golf course that we should be proud of, and just it's always a problem getting the word out to non-golfers or people that really would like to get into it about what's going on. We don't have a lot of advertising that gets to them, and we're talking about ways of doing that. For example, this July 29th, Sunday, we're going to have a snag Sunday where we're setting up the range where we like a golf course where everyone can play free, youngest kids all the way to parents, and the range will be closed to normal use. This is the range where you practice your drives, but somebody that maybe doesn't know that could come and enjoy this. But anyway, that's one of the things that's going on. That'll be July 29th. We're having a junior golf camp July 9th through the 13th for $100 for the entire camp. We're limited to 16 juniors. There's some early birds, schedules, deals. There's always deals for people that want to play at different times where the course isn't busy, so that's before 8 o'clock. And we have a restaurant there that's owned by the town, so you want to go and support your community, you go eat at the restaurant, and don't have to be a golfer to do it. Now, on July 20th at 6 p.m., there's a Taste of the Mediterranean. There's a full menu available if somebody wants it, and reservations are recommended, so that's one of the things planned. Here we have a beginners get golf ready, which is an interesting thing for somebody that's never played golf and wants to learn what the etiquette is. You may wonder what clothes to wear, or you don't want to be embarrassed showing up at the golf course, so this kind of tells you what the basic etiquette is. And this will be starting free. No, it's $159 per person, but it includes some free aspects too. So, but it's starting June 4th and June 18th, and June 11th, and June 25th. So call the course if that's something that interests you. There's something else at the restaurant. Nights in Havana. Friday night, August 10th from 6 to 9. $35 inclusive per person. Music will be provided on the menu, so call about that if you're interested. Also, there's you can join the text club that if you ever want a good deal on times that are open at the last minute, they give you a lower price, and you might want to go take advantage of that. So there's what we call our golf course. But one of the most interesting things to me was that there's now a free mobile app on the golf course that you can download, and it has GPS on it, so eventually we won't have to pay for that on the carts, because you'll have all the advantages right on your cell phone. So that's something that you can use it for ordering from our restaurant, or book tea times, get GPS yardage, interactive scorecard, all sorts of ways of using that. So great things are happening at the golf course. And we've had a very cold spring and a late start, but it's off and moving now. So go take a look at your golf course and the restaurant there, which belongs to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Old business 1718-48, consider and take action concerning grant of easement to Eversource to allow for electrical service to the Rockwell Avenue basketball court area.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Dave Malesko, our Director of Leisure Services, can address this request for approval. David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This is just a follow-up from the April 9th town council meeting. At that point in time, well, I'll give you a little bit of background again, once again, to familiarize yourself with the project. We're looking to replace the outdoor lighting on the basketball courts on Rockwell Avenue. So in order to do that, we're looking to gain an easement through Eversource and CIL, which is the property owners of the Early Learning Center. So in order to do that, we presented and the council approved at the April 9th to move forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission in pursuant of the CGS Section 824 for review and recommendation. Unfortunately, the April meeting did get canceled, but due to state statutes, it goes into effect after 35 days. I did speak with the director, Jose Geiner of Planning and Zoning, who spoke with the chairman of the commission, and neither saw any reason for this project not to move forward. So I'm here to hopefully move forward with the project so we can engage the town attorney in order to move forward with negotiations with Eversource.
Move adoption?
Second.
Do we need to read the resolution?
Yes, please.
I move to approve the easement to Eversource to allow for electrical services to Rockwell Avenue basketball court area.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any discussions? Motion carried.
Can I ask one
Yes.
question, Madam Mayor? David, what was the expectation from the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting? What was the outcome expected?
It was expected for them to approve unanimously.
Okay, we weren't looking for them to provide some kind of additional...
Correct. It was just following protocol in order for them to go through that statute that I mentioned, the 8-24.
I recall the last meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So, item 1718-63, consider and take action regarding the transfer of land under the former Goodman Street and associated easement grant to the town has been requested to be removed from this agenda.
That's correct.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. That's to remove it, right?
Right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. So we're going to go to new business, 1718-66, consider and take action regarding appointment to Commission on Aging. Yes, sir.
The Committee on Committees, again, at their meeting on May 21st, recommended to the council the appointments of the following members to the Commission on Aging: Barbara Bloom, Alfred Lefebvre, Lucille Morrissey, Leon Rivers, Jeanette Rivers, Shirley Thompson, Hallerstein Graham, Robert Berman, Susan Odoms, Barbara Reisner, August Wallach, Paula Wallach, and Peter Wilcox. We recommend the approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any discussions? Motion carries. 1718-67, consider and take action regarding appointment to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission.
Madam Mayor, the Committee on Committees met on the 21st and recommended two names to fulfill the entire commission now to be a complete body of 9. The names of David Liupa and Kevin Wilcox to be on this commission. And we recommend that for approval.
All in favor?
I would like to just commend the Committee on Committees for, I noticed that both of these are unaffiliated voters, and I think that is a good thing, because we have lots of unaffiliated voters in Bloomfield, and I think it's good that we got unaffiliated voters in serving on our committees and commissions.
And thank you for that. And also, the process included an application in which these people put on paper what their qualifications were for the first time. So we have information and we made a good choice, I think.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 1718-68, consider and take action regarding adoption of resolution tax suspense list.
Yes, I would indicate to the council that this is a list of unpaid taxes that have not been collected and for which the tax collector has indicated there is really no likelihood that they could be collected. I will say this, for those that relate to automobiles, should they return to Connecticut if they're out of state, or if they decide to register a vehicle, their name is picked up in the State Department of Motor Vehicles list, and the state will refuse to register their vehicle until they've paid any prior taxes that are owed. So this is an administrative item, but it takes care of those taxes that we've been unable to take care of from 2009 through 2016. It's a rather extensive list. If any of you want to take the time and go through it, if you know of some of these people, where they might be located, we'll be happy to pursue it, believe me. So.
Oh, wow.
So there's a resolution that would need to be adopted to formally suspend.
Councilor McCleary has a question.
I think this can we refer this to the Finance Committee for further discussion, as there is a number of people on here that I know are still in business, that I know personally, and some of us up here know personally. I went through the list, and so maybe we should just refer this to the Finance Committee to see if we could do some personal outreach and try to get some of this money.
I believe we are still would like to collect this money, even if we suspend it. All we're doing is putting it in a different category, so we don't call it. It's no longer.
Okay, thank you. Good, that makes, okay, thank you. I didn't know that.
Happy to call or even visit them.
Can I please have a motion on the floor? Can we please read the motion?
That the town hereby authorizes transfers in the amount of $373,491.38 to the suspense tax books for the years listed: 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This action is being taken upon for the recommendation of the tax collector and as shown as a report dated May 22, 2018.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Consider and take 1718-69, consider and take action regarding donation of land to the town of Bloomfield, Vincent property, parcel 371-24.
Yes, Mr. Malesko can give us an overview of the property. This was discussed somewhat at the Golf Committee prior to the council meeting this evening. It's, I think, a very worthwhile donation to the town. And David, you can expound on it. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, once again. Just as the manager mentioned, in parcel 371-24, calling it the Vincent property. It was actually Gertrude Vincent, who recently passed away and left it to members of her family. This area has been an area of interest, specifically on the town side, dating back for the last couple summers, when we actually took a walk around the golf course back in the summer of 2016, when we looked at that. It's to help identify, it's to help create some of the connections if we were to move forward with this parcel of land, connections for walking trails to Reservoir 3. It's also, the neighbors, which are 4 properties, 3 of them by the owners were actually just, I don't know if it was donated to the land trust, the Wittenberry Land Trust, who we work very active with, and so the Vincent family reached out to the town and would like to donate the parcel to the town. It's approximately, it's 3.6 acres. It would be the recommendation, if we followed the same procedures that we just went through with the Buck property, would be to move forward with an AAI Phase 1 environmental study. I have reached out to GeoQuest to a cost of approximately $2,400 to continue that. It's just to protect the town, to make sure that there's no environmental hazards or conditions that presently exist on there. And at that point, if we also followed the same procedures for the Buck property, it was recommended to the Land Use Commission. So, any other questions?
Councilor Merritt?
Yeah, Did you say that some of these other lots that are shown have already been donated to the land trust?
That is correct.
All of them, or the one out beyond them, 60-10, 15-50?
The only one that would not have been would be through the Eversource property, which I'm certain that we would be able to gain access through that property. So this would...
All four. So we don't get taxes on them once they give them to us, so that's a problem.
That would be correct. But if you were to look at the health and wellness aspect of it, it could potentially,
Why is it better for the town to take it over rather than the land trust?
Well, that's something that actually could be discussed as well, and I would think that would potentially come up in future conversations.
I mean, would the land trust restrict it? They still has that pathway, so.
Actually, to Councilman's point, I think I responded. I think you're moving. To Councilman's point, I think when this came through on the town side, I think I did send out an email saying that the land trust had just acquired the other 3 parcels, and I think that we should look at potentially donating, once the town, they've come forward to donate this to the town. I think the town should look at rationalizing a few of these parcels around town, so maybe this one does go to the land trust for the contiguity of this. There are also a couple of parcels over in Rockwell that the land trust owns that may be better served by donating to the town.
So it's 6 of one and a half dozen of the other.
Right.
Councilor Mann?
Yes, David, Councilman Merritt kind of touched on my question. You got these 4 or more parcels of land here. Now I understand many of them, if not all, are town-owned or Wittenberry Land Trust owned.
Public access.
All 4 of the, there's no interliers here, is this correct?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay.
Other than the property 0, which is the Eversource, which I'm certain that.
And I remember taking that walk that you described, I call it a slog, so it was really good. To define that kind of, that pathway through the neighborhood area, through the golf course. And I remember coming up the hill pretty much to this spot.
Yes.
Any thoughts on, I'm not expecting to have a plan of use at this point for what you do with that property, but does it complete the path that we had considered earlier?
I think that would be the goal, would be in order to create the connection from the Beacon Hill area, which would bring you through this down to Reservoir 3 to the backside of the golf course as well. So it would create those connections that we're looking for. And then from the Reservoir 3, you could go off onto Tunxus and you could head up into the Adams Road area if needs be. So it creates a nice connection for us.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I have another comment.
I'm sorry.
The other possible situation is that it might be useful land for a golf course. I don't know if we want to put another 9 holes in, but at least it's something to think about. I'm just thinking of its contiguity with the golf course, and that's a possibility. In fact, if you continue on down that side of that road, whatever it is, I can't remember, but there's no access to any of these properties. But back even down where there is access, there's a whole row of properties on the golf course side of that road. Only one of which has a geodesic dome in it, which I don't believe is occupied anyway. But we might be interested in all that, and maybe it could be parking or something. I don't know. But it's at least something we ought to think about. But I don't think it takes away from the decision today, but I'm just pointing out that there are some possibilities here we ought to be looking at. And I would move the question if there's any...
So just go ahead and read it.
Is that?
You want to go ahead and read it?
I've got to read it?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move that we forward with the we move forward with acquiring this property with the environmental study. We refer the acquisition to the Conservation, Energy, and Environment Committee and the Land Use and Economic Development Subcommittee of the Council for recommendation back to the Town Council.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So, motion carries. Consider and take action regarding policy 120-10, ride-alongs.
Yes, there's been some questions raised in the past about whether the town had a policy that was adequate on ride-alongs. Both the police chief and our purchasing and insurance person, Nancy Haynes, went through, solicited policies from other towns, and came up with the policy that's before you in draft form, which we're recommending be sent to the Administration and Education Committee for review and recommendation back to the council.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I did read this information, and it looks like 2 people drafted this information, and I just have a question with regard to, where did I put it? Where it says that only, the person who's doing the ride-along is limited to, I think it's 2 ride-alongs per year or something like that? I have a question and a concern about that. I don't understand why that's in there. It's on, under program restrictions, if anyone's looking for it. And I just wanted to ask that question, what is the purpose of that?
Well, that's something the committee ought to discuss.
Yeah, we can take it up in the committee and have the chief there. Well, I think it's designed primarily to not increase the administrative burden on the town side of it in terms of scheduling these. I don't know if it's, designed to be restrictive per se, but these are usually familiarity trips. They're not really beyond that, but certainly the subcommittee can ask questions about it if they wish.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councilor McCleary?
He mentioned that the chief participated in this. Would this also have an opportunity to go to the Public Safety Committee, as there's public safety implications in this?
Usually in the past, we've had policies go through Administration and Education Subcommittee. I'm sure if the council wishes, it could go to the Public Safety Committee too. That's a council decision, really, Ken.
Okay. But it does, involve public safety, so I don't see why it's going there.
You can put it on the agenda, the public safety.
It involves really any department where there's a vehicle, senior services, and I think most of the staff is willing to provide some, acceptance to this, but they don't want to be overburdened by somebody coming every week, for instance. So, anyway, it's something that can be discussed at the subcommittee level.
Councilor Mann?
Yeah, I just would like to say, I read the policy, and I think it goes a long way to solve questions that have been posed before, and I think it's rather well-written and makes a good opportunity for people, all people who are interested in these ride-alongs to participate. Thank you.
Councilor, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah. I just want to add, this is just an additional problem that we have when there's no policies and procedures in place. Here we go, we have a ride-along. We've been doing it for years, and we've never thought about what possibilities could happen as far as the town being liable for any incident. So once again, we talked about the story in the media about the burger, the policy, no policy. We really need to sit down as a town and look at what we have been doing to prevent this town from any liable incidents, because I think it's, we need to be proactive and not reactive. And I think we're continuously being reactive and causing a lot of angst with individuals on this council and with the public. So we really need to sit down and come up with some policies and procedures. Okay.
That's good. Councilor Marshall Neely?
I understand what was just said. However, there wasn't a line of people lined up to do a ride-along. There was only one person who was doing a ride-along, and I think this is a little excessive. In addition to that, I'm not here to berate the previous council, but I don't know whether or not anyone from the previous council did ride-alongs. So I think that this is over the top with regard to having to draft a whole policy because one councilor wanted to do a ride-along, which is actually showing your interest in the community and your commitment to the community. So I just wanted to say that publicly because I think that a lot of time went into, a lot of taxpayers' dollars went into this, and it's over the top in my honest opinion.
Madam Mayor, through you, I think the policy doesn't reflect on one individual. If you think about it, the public is also can go and ride along. I have a neighbor who've been in multiple ride-alongs. So it's just not council members. I think, am I right, Phil, that the public could also go along and ride-alongs?
Yes.
So to me, that's a problem, that we have public members going on ride-alongs and don't have a policy in place in case of an incident. So I don't think this is an attack on any one member on this council. I just think we need to address this as a town to make sure we don't put our taxpayers' dollar in liability. So I think it's important overall. Yep. Thank you.
So the motion on the floor was to refer this policy to admin and education. Was there a second?
Yeah.
Yes,
There was a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
I abstain.
Any abstentions?
I abstain.
So there's 2 abstentions. Motion carries. 1718-71. Discussion and possible action regarding a policy on meals at budget meetings.
Madam Mayor, it was discussed today during the special meeting we had for admin education in regards to the previous practice of meals being provided during budget sessions. And in light of everything, I think the committee did come up with a proposal to this council tonight to stop the current practice, do a research of other towns and what they do to provide meals for council members, and to figure that out in committee and to come up with a policy. Because once again, lack of policy opens you up to the $50 burger. So I believe that it's a good recommendation to this council, so we can start a discussion and come up with a policy if the council choose that we provide meals during a budget session. I will add, I don't think it's unreasonable to have a decent dinner during a budget session if the town's going to pay for it. If that's the case, in my personal opinion, we should do away with the practice. That's my opinion. And so I will just move that we currently, India, can you please repeat the motion that we set today at the admin, the special, because I know there were some amendments made to it.
Well, while she looks for that, can we have discussion?
Yes, Councilor McCleary.
I first want to apologize on behalf of myself to the residents of Bloomfield who may have felt like the burger was excessive, $49. I too have a young family, and to certain seniors and our families out there, $49 is a lot of groceries, and I do feel your pain, and I just want to apologize from myself. I didn't participate in any of the luxury meals, but I felt it prudent to reimburse the town $100 to cover the meals. The town could donate it to the Youth and Social Services. They could put it wherever they want. But I don't want anybody to think that I'm up here just for a luxury meal. So on behalf of myself, and because I can only speak for myself, I apologize because I have a young family and I know what $49 could do for groceries in a week. So I apologize.
Anyone else? Councilor Marshall Neely.
I just want to go on record and acknowledge that
there was no policy. However, there is common sense. And I'm not looking at the $49 burger. I'm looking at $2,567 and change for the entire session. And although I don't eat fish, never did, I'm not pointing any fingers at anyone, but I'm saying that the $49 burger was an eye-opener. However, we're missing the mark here. It was the total of $2,567 and change that we should focus on if you want to discuss the meals that was purchased collectively. That's the number we should be looking at. And on another note, I feel as though it doesn't make any sense to point fingers at anyone, to single people out, because enough discussion has gone on about this since the article came out. I also want to thank the reporter for keeping us honest, because that's what he did. He kept us honest. And so, whatever policy anyone decides to put in place, in my opinion, I feel as though if you're going to pre-order your meal, maybe you should throw some money out there and say, hey, I'm going to put some money out there. This is what I'm going to order. Just like I did when I was in corporate. If you're going to order lunch and everybody's putting their money in, do it that way. But that's just one counselor's opinion.
Councilor Merritt?
I guess I should apologize. Not that I had any exotic meals, because I usually fail to order anything, but fortunately some food was usually provided for me anyway. But in fact, I told the reporter this, that 10 years ago we had the same thing. It made the papers, and there was a big cutback afterwards in what we had for meals. But we've been through this before, and I guess I knew it, and I should have spoken up and said this is ridiculous, because it was, and we shouldn't have been doing this, ordering from a menu. And the menu was very hard to find anything under $20 on those menus, frankly. I had trouble finding anything I liked, to be honest with you, but I don't like all this fancy food anyway. But I think it's about time we had a policy. It should have been done years ago, and there should be a budget for it like anything else. And I think we do a lot of feeding of volunteers and feeding other people, but this same thing has been going on for years, and it's nothing new this year. Other councils have had the same thing, and you're going to have things that, of course, the burger made good headlines, but the filet mignon and surf and turf and other people had some pretty nice meals, and pretty exotic, and I just don't think that's a good place to have those meals. I'm always embarrassed eating in front of people anyway, much as I like to eat. It's not the right kind of food, I don't think. I think if we had some sandwiches or something like that, it would be much more, I'd be more comfortable, to be honest with you. I don't see, but I notice other towns have food at every council meeting, so I've gone hungry tonight, and I want to tell you that. So, but it's not bad for me. I'm not wasting away, so I will have to survive it. But anyway, thank you.
Actually,
Councilor Goff.
I'd just like to second Councilor Merritt's comment. We had a meeting at 5, we had a meeting at 6, and we have a meeting now at 7:30. I have not had dinner tonight.
Me neither.
So,
I need home.
Yeah.
I'm wasting away. It's terrible.
Councilor Mann.
Yes, it's hard to apologize for something you didn't do wrong because you were told to pick something from this menu. And I eat responsibly. And I grew up in a family where you didn't buy the most expensive thing on the menu. And that's common judgment, good judgment. In the case, it wasn't good judgment. But for $45, did you ever see the kind of coverage we're getting from the media? Who's been here all day, and now they finally heard other things that are going on in this town, which is good. We need more coverage. We need their help to tell the good things that are going on in this town. And there are a lot of good things going on in the town, but they don't hear.
Thank you.
So for a $45 hamburger, $49 hamburger, Maybe we'll do it again next month.
No. Well, I'm not going to do it again next time. Because, again, there are families and people in this community that are living on $45 worth of groceries, and relatively recently, I was one of those, so.
Councilor DiLorenzo?
I don't think I have too many more comments because everybody's already said them, but I will say if there's any good news in any of this is that what we did with those meals is that we supported local businesses here in Bloomfield. Did anyone even look at that? All of the restaurants, well, I was only able to attend 6 of the 8 budget sessions, but all 8 of them were from local restaurants or the Geislers or the Stop and Shop or the Capaco Center. So, there is a little bit of good in that. I do think that it is absolutely silly to have seen this on the first page of the Hartford Courant. I'm very disappointed in that. This just overshadowed all of the good things that have been happening in Bloomfield. I didn't see a first page article about how this town council, all of us, passed a basically no increase in a budget. In fact, we lowered the mill rate by a slight amount. I didn't see that blasted over the front page of the paper. We just had a new building approved, 330 Park Avenue. So, we had a groundbreaking ceremony. It's in the Bloomfield Messenger. I didn't see that published on the front page of the Hartford Courant, and Mr. Zuggs aptly pointed out that we haven't had a new building here. He's not in the room, but we haven't had a new building here since 1993, I think he said. So, I agree, and there are plenty of other things going on. I think Mr. Rivers mentioned Philly Park, there's the sidewalks. There are good things happening in this town, but it seems like when one bad thing happens or one, slight of judgment, bad judgment is made by someone, it's always the negative things that come out first. So, I support Deputy Mayor's recommendation. In fact, I would like to extend that to say that it's not just on the budget meals, but that any event that we hold as a council, which we have had orientation sessions, we have at least once a year team building event where we have had a breakfast provided. So, I say we don't serve anything until we figure out what the policy is, and then we put a policy in place, and we include not only the budget sessions in the policy, but any other event that we have, because if that's what it's going to take to make the people happy, then we should do it. I mean, thank you for many of the supportive comments we heard tonight. It's very difficult to, attend all of the meetings that we do attend, and then to hear that we shouldn't be able to have, some food item. When you work all day and then you come to a budget session where you have to hear from department heads and be on your, your top, be on your good side, and sit for several hours, it's challenging when you're thinking about your meal. When am I going to get to eat? So, I'm not looking for a 6-course dinner. I think that what we do, has been something we've done the entire time I've been on the council. A menu goes out, we're asked to order something and use our good judgment in making that order. I don't think any of us have ever exceeded and ordered the most expensive item on the menu. That's silly. I don't even do that myself, and I go out to eat a lot with my wife. So, you use judgment, good judgment, and perhaps there was a miss of that, but I think we've determined what needs to be done, and I think we'd like to end this and move on and get back to the town's business. That's more important, especially after hearing about the Board of Ed. So, all right, that's longer than I planned to talk. Sorry about that.
I would just like to echo Councilor DiLorenzo and everyone that spoke. I said it to the reporters who called. I don't believe it was a malicious act. I don't believe that the council, even though we were given the ability to order, I think most of us used good judgment, right? I think it was a bad call. And I think, unfortunately, as a council, we have to apologize as a council that it was a bad judgment call. And it won't happen again, right? We will put a policy in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But we're also very mindful that everyone have to make their own individual choices, right? We didn't know what people were ordering, and we didn't tell people what they could or couldn't order. Exactly, but as you're saying common sense, but sometimes it's not that common. So for that, we are, for the error in judgment, I wouldn't have done it. I think most people up here said that they wouldn't have done it either. And I'm sure that this lesson has been learned. I am positive that it has been learned. And, people have to take character. People have to take that responsibility for themselves. Miss India, does anyone else want to speak on this topic?
I would like to commend Mr. Mann for his comments only to this point. That the town is a wonderful, diverse town. I've lived here my whole life. There's so much good going on. And like everything else, there's stuff that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. But there's so much good. And with all the complaints you hear, with all the good stuff, I just never could understand why it hit the front page and it hit the paper twice. And I think that's irresponsible, and I was just devastated and angry that would happen for our town when there's so many other good things going on that could be done much more often than it is.
Thank you very much. I asked the question again, does anybody else want to say anything else? Okay, Miss India, do you have that motion?
Yes, the motion was that the Administration and Education Subcommittee recommended to the full council to stop the current practice to provide dinner and budget sessions. If the town council wishes to review it at some time in the future, policy should be put in place.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. So is this going to, what committee is this being referred to?
Admin education.
Okay, I would like to add a friendly amendment to have the town staff look into more of a transparent system, because during those budget sessions, there is crucial information about salaries and contracts, and I think this could be an opportunity for us to, we ran on the transparency, put this data in the public's hands on the website. There are softwares out there. I could name one, Open Checkbook that I mentioned to the finance director. It's similar to the system that the state of Connecticut use as it relates to opening up the finances to the town and letting them see what's being spent. We could discuss this in committee, but I think we should look at it holistically and make it into a transparency bill.
Is there anyone else? I thought I saw a couple of hands. Councilor DiLorenzo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My only request would be to amend it to not include just the budget sessions, but to include any session where food would be present, that it be set aside until, or postponed until we determine what the policy should be at any meeting of the council.
I accept that amendment.
Councilor Mann had
Well, a further amendment and along those same lines, I think the intent is to come up with a policy, and the question I have is using the word "if" does not indicate that you're going to do anything. So I would take that out and say we'll come up with a policy.
Agree with that.
Call the question?
Right, I think
we have India reread.
So if we're doing the friendly amendment to remove the word "if"
And to add all.
and to add all,
Any session.
Any sessions.
and then
No, that's just, that's a separate.
My friendly amendment, I take that, and I spoke with the finance chair, we have something in place.
Okay.
So, the motion is that the current practice to provide, the Administration and Education Subcommittee recommends to the full council the current practice to provide dinner at all sessions of council whenever they meet. They're recommending to institute I'm sorry, take that back. The Administration and Education Subcommittee recommends to the full council that when
This is our resolution now.
dinner is provided or meals are provided at any session of the council when they meet, they recommend to stop their practice at this time. The town council will institute a policy moving forward.
But that's, I think we have to amend that because it's coming as the council's recommendation now, not the subcommittee. The subcommittee, first sentence was a subcommittee issue, I believe. Is that correct?
She's just amending the...
Right.
So she's just adding,
We shouldn't say anything now. The motion should be everything after the prior part was the Admin and Education Committee recommended this. We took that and just amended that, so it won't have the beginning part about it.
So is that the council has made a motion to stop the process of feeding at all council sessions until a procedure is in place. Policy is in place, and we're going to send it back to the Admin and Education Subcommittee for that policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? It carries. 1718-72, discussion and possible action regarding a design review committee. Is there a motion on the floor? Councilor Mann.
Madam Mayor, thank you. This item was introduced at at a late period on Friday, but I just want to recount. The Design Review Committee was one of the top issues we had when we ran, and was part of our vision statement for the town, that we are very much concerned that the town establishes a design image of itself rather than let every developer determine what it's going to be over the future. And it led to the development of a group of professionals who have understanding for looking at plans, for making recommendations, for understanding context, for understanding materials, understanding relationships of buildings and masses and effects they have on both pedestrian movement and traffic. And this committee was, we set out to work with the TPZ and the town planner and town manager, and we came up with a recommendation. I did not submit the the proposal itself because of the timing and because we were frankly too busy chasing hamburgers. So I would like to just recommend that this go to committee, and it could be either admin or just whichever you prefer, and we can deal with it next time.
So the motion on the floor is to send this design review committee draft to Admin and Education. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Report from our town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things, particularly coming up in the near future. We have a tremendous schedule of events coming up that celebrate Bloomfield, and I would urge people to go to the town website, bloomfieldct.gov, and you can access the webpage for Celebrate Bloomfield at that point. But there's a number of activities going on, including the Mayor's Ball. On June 13th, the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving will be holding a forum at 6 p.m. at Our Farm. The Hartford Foundation, as many of you may know, has almost $1 billion that earns interest, which the Hartford Foundation then funnels back into the 29-town Hartford region for a variety of different purposes. They have a new director, and he is interested, Jay Williams, and he's interested in hearing from each town as to what they feel might be items or interest by that community. So that's on June 13th, 6 p.m. at Our Farm. Speaking of Our Farm, their party in Plaid is scheduled for June 22nd, and I would urge you to go to their website, and you can find out about tickets and schedules and events that are scheduled that day. That completes my report.
Thank you. The other day, we had a celebration at the Board of Ed for some teachers that were retiring. There were a lot of good teachers that loved the system, but they were retiring, and some teachers celebrated their 25th and their 35th year as teachers for our town. So that was a good celebration for the teachers. I also wanted to make note of a good thing that happened. The churches have had some issues with our tax assessors and them being taxed, and it hadn't been happening for years. And we were able to have conversation and dialogue, and I'm very happy to report that the Congregational Church has resolved their tax issue with the town, and they're extremely happy. And I'm very happy, any input that we were able to offer to make sure that that happens. We will continue to work with the tax assessors and all the other nonprofits out there that still have some issues with that. So the council is making some strides. I'm very happy that we do put our differences aside to get the job done for our town. And some of the hiccups that we have is a part of the job, right? And we are committed to serving our town, so I'm very happy about that. I know that Phil talked about the events that's taking place on this week. We're hoping for no rain, even though the forecast says rain. We start out there on Thursday. I think it's paint night, Thursday night. We start out with paint night. On Friday, we have the Bloomfield High choir. They're going to come out and they're going to do their thing. On Saturday, we have a craft fair. We have a lot of vendors coming. Mm-hmm. We have food trucks coming. I'm excited about that. And we have a mayor's ball that's going to celebrate our town, and every penny that's raised will go to social services and youth services, and we are so excited about the sponsors. We have amazing sponsors for an event that never has happened, and they just stepped up and gave money. So I thank the Celebrate Bloomfield Committee, Sharon and the other staff that have been putting a lot of hours and a lot of time into this. So I'm hoping that we will go out and support the activities for this week. With that said, we're going to do some approval of minutes, and we'll start with the May 4th. What happened?
I was just wondering if we can create a consent calendar and put all of these in one motion, so we don't have to go through
each of them.
Yeah, each of them.
So, can you make one motion for all of them? Okay.
I move we accept all of them.
So I do have a change for April 10th that I'd like to discuss with India, but beyond that, can we have a motion to accept the minutes with...
I will move all the minutes to accept.
with the minute, okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. At this time, council comments. I'm going to start with Councilor Waterhouse.
I believe we continue to work together across party lines to make our community better, and I truly believe that.
Excuse me. The mic.
Sorry. Would you like me to repeat it?
Pardon me?
Would you like me to repeat it?
Yeah, no, they couldn't hear you. I was just trying to help you out.
We continue to work together across party lines to make our community better. I also believe putting into place policies and procedures for areas that don't have them is definitely what we do need to do to make our town progress better and to make better decisions. Thank you.
Councilor Marshall Neely.
Thank you. I want to say thank you, and my heart pours out to you, Joanne Anderson on Crestview Drive. My heart felt what your heart was feeling. And if I could have done anything on my own, I would have done it for you. I really hope and trust that the town is going to make it right. It's been too long, and, you know, I just think that we need to step up for the citizens in our community. I also feel concerned because our parents in Bloomfield are passionate about what's going on in the education system here in the town. And I feel as though because the council's hands are tied, we're not able to really do too much, but we should be able to find something that we can do. I am passionate about kids, about our kids' education, and about kids succeeding. I believe that we need to do something post-haste. And so I applaud those parents, and I really hope that they continue to show up and show out and speak out. I thank Linda, and I might be getting the name wrong, Pagani, for supporting this council. I think that was heartfelt. I appreciate what you said. I also have to say that with regard to the previous council, I want you to continue to hold our feet to the fire because it keeps us straight. We have to stand straight. And, you know, we're going to utilize you as much as we can to probably provide some feedback, but not all comments are bad comments. And everyone should have a right to say what they want to say based on how they understand something. And I thank you for just offering your voice. You know, whether we all agree or not, I just thank you for offering your voice. I did have a comment with regard to the excessive meals, but we've pounded on that so many times, and you know, there's a lot of work to be done. There's work to be done at 330 Park. There's work to be done on the town green. There's work to be done Philly Park, and let's roll up our sleeves and get that work done, because there's a lot that has to happen in this town. And those are my comments.
Councilor Marion?
I agree with it seems ridiculous that we haven't heard about Mrs. Anderson's problems until now. I think, you know, that they've been that serious, and it's just something that we should wonder about, and I hope we can take care of that problem as quickly as possible. These things get caught up with lawyers, and they take more time than they should. But anyway, but I'd also like to say something that I have been on this council an awful long time, and I've always heard the mothers coming from the school system, and sometimes they come and say, how could you cut the Board of Ed as you have, and how could you, sometimes the council is taking the blame for the cuts. Last year, the last council cut the board about the same amount this council did this year, and I hear all these complaints, but we've had problems. Our school is a real challenge, and we have had problems in our school system for the last 30 or 40 years, so it's not anything new. And to say that we're not top of the heap is kind of an understatement, but we are doing better than we were. And in fact, this superintendent, who is probably performance, has been far superior to some of the prior ones. And I think he deserved credit for that. And I see him being beat up and people saying he should be fired. And well, it's not unusual for mothers to be appointed in how their children are being educated in any school. And I've heard this go on for the last, well, since 1975 when I started on the town council, and we've heard this, but the point should be made that they are doing a much better job today than they were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And they should be given some credit for that and should be encouraged to continue the progress. And yes, there's some awful deficiencies, yes. Well, we all know that. That's not news. And these statistics don't shock me. They've been around a long time, but I'm happy as many kids are going to college as are. I think this council has been beating up on the Board of Education, and I don't think that's helpful. I don't think cutting their budget's helpful. I think they probably could use more money and would do a better job if they did. They have leaky roofs that aren't getting fixed, and they're trying their darndest to help these kids out. It's a very, very tough job, and I don't pretend to know how to do it, and I am impressed that they've done as well as they can. So I guess enough said about that. Thank you.
Councilor McCleary.
Madam Mayor, I just want to start out by thanking the students who participated in the Shred Day. Good job. It's great to see our youth being engaged in the community. Very, very good job. I want to address the Board of Ed. I'm very, very concerned. I hear the parents, but I'm concerned about the image that's going to have to potential parents that want to move into Bloomfield and potential businesses that may want to move to Bloomfield that may be hesitant because these numbers that are being projected, we don't know if they're true or they're, false. So this is the third time sitting up here, and those parents have come before us and requested a forensic audit of the school board. And I would like to see this council hire some consultants and dig deep into the school board. Most of the information is public information. The school board will have to turn it over to the forensic auditors. We really need to do a due diligence and put this story to bed, because just like the $49 burger, if the schools get on the front page of the paper, we better forget about it, because no one will move to Bloomfield, young families or businesses. So I would like for us, I don't know in what venue we can go to really discuss whether we're going to take some money out of our council contingency or the town's contingency and go out to RFP for an auditor to put this to rest, because it will do some damage if it hits the front page of our paper. Celebrate Bloomfield. I hope everybody comes out. I look forward to seeing you out on the town green and participating in the activities. I'm happy to hear that there was a resolution for the taxes on the churches and the nonprofits. That makes me very, very, very happy, because they provide an essential service to this town that we may not be able to provide. And last but not least, Ms. Anderson. I had the opportunity to speak with Ms. Anderson yesterday, and I know the town attorney said this is something that's potentially under litigation. But what concerns me is that the town sent her, and we all have it, a letter on May 19th, 2017, additional to the town attorney being on the Fox station, telling the news reporter that the town is at fault and that they're going to do everything to expedite Mrs. Anderson's situation. And it's in a letter from Jose Gaina and the town manager in May of 2017. It's a year later, and nothing has been done. She called her attorney today when I said, well, the attorneys, you should get an offer from the attorneys. She called her attorney and called me back and said the attorneys have got one offer. So I'm hearing this and I don't know what to trust. And I'm very concerned, because this young lady, a passionate plea, and she deserves a new roof, and she deserves to live in her home comfortably. And I would urge that the town staff present a report before our next council meeting on the remedies that they put in place to handle her situation. There's letters. Why does it have to go to court to spend more legal fees when we know we're in the wrong and we have it documented? It's just going to come right back to us. So before you can go to the courts and put the attorneys and the cost goes up, just do what we need to do to fix the problem. And so I would really like to see at our next council meeting or in the next couple of days a plan of action, how we're going to get this young lady in her home so that she's not struggling. Thank you.
Councilor Goff.
Thank you. let's see, Celebrate Bloomfield is this weekend, and I just want to remind people that along with all of the great events we're having in the town center and the Mayor's Ball, we also have the Woodbury Land Trust, again, will be hosting 3 hikes, nature walks. We will have a morning hike on Saturday morning, 9:30, at a land trust property onto the MDC Reservoir. At 1:30, we will be going to the Our Farm Scenic Reserve and doing our usual short bobolink walk. If you are not hikers but enjoy the outdoors and enjoy seeing really unique birds, please join us for that. It's a short hike.
You know, I don't like animals.
These are birds.
I got to tell you the bird story.
And then on Sunday morning, we will be partnering with the Seabury Trail Committee to do our annual walk at, Sunday afternoon. We will be partnering with the Seabury Trail Committee to do our annual walk on the Seabury Wildwoods Trail. So please come out and enjoy that as you're going back and forth to the town green. I did want to thank everyone who's remaining, but everyone who came out tonight. Again, this is what democracy looks like. It's important that people come out and voice their views. I certainly want to continue to have involvement from our prior council members, although I have to say, Councilor Rivers, I was a little confused about the comments on some of the projects, all of which we're continuing through with. So I was a little confused about that. In fact, on the sidewalk budget, this council added $50,000 to the sidewalk improvement budget for this year because one of our goals and beliefs is that we need more and better sidewalks to improve walkability. So we're completely on board with you in continuing those worthwhile projects. There was one other thing I wanted to say, but I've forgotten what it was now, so I will pass it on to Councilor DiLorenzo.
Councilor DiLorenzo?
Thank you, Councilor Goff. Okay, I think most everything's been said, but I did want to bring up 2 other things. So last time I think we were here, we did get some negative feedback on some of our signs that have been popping up around the town. I just want to tell you that there's always 2 sides to the story. While there were some negative comments about the placement of one particular sign and the size of that sign, I've been getting some feedback from a couple of people on how nice the signs are, how well they like them, and how good they look. So I think everybody just needs to be patient and watch the signs go up. There may be some that may need to be readjusted or moved to different location. But what I'm also noticing is that the old signs are disappearing, so that when a new sign goes up, old signs come down. So we're not going to be left, with 10 or 20 signs that say "Welcome to Bloomfield" on the same block. Now that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I've noticed Prosser Library's got a new sign. Many places, the signs are popping up. They do look really good. Again, they're consistent, they're uniform, you can read them. They're nice, and it should help people find their way around the town. And I also want to say that those signs have already been paid for. That signage was part of a prior budget under the previous council. It just takes a while for things to happen. So those signs were worked on probably 2 years ago. I'm sure David Malesko could tell us if he was still here, but we started that process a while ago. They were already budgeted for and considered in the budget, so we're not spending additional money out of the budget to pay for the signage. The second comment I have is about the Heirloom Flats apartments. Again, we've heard some criticism about those apartments, but again, there are 2 sides to the story. I've heard a lot of positive feedback on the Heirloom apartments. I've heard that they're starting to fill up and that a lot of young people are moving into those apartments. And as Councilor Mann has said in our last Economic Development Council meeting, subcommittee meeting, we are interested in working with the EDC and finding out what brings these people to Bloomfield besides Heirloom Flats. What can we do with the town center or the downtown, as we want to call it? What could be done to improve it and make it enticing and make the young people want to come to Bloomfield? Not just because of a new apartment, but because of other things here in Bloomfield. But again, Heirloom Flats, if you haven't had the opportunity, go and visit it. Go and look at it. I'm sure the people there would be happy to show an apartment to you, even if you're not rent one. I think the lobby is magnificent. They have a lot of features, including a gym on site. Please go see it before you say that it's, doesn't fit in. So anyway, those are my comments. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I think Councilor Goff mentioned that. I thank you for your support. For all of us here on the council, we try to do the best that we can, and sometimes we make mistakes, and we need to just acknowledge it and move on from that, and I think we're trying to do those things. So please have patience with us. So we have a lot of new members on the council, and it takes some time. So thank you for your support, and look forward to seeing many of you this weekend at the Celebrate Bloomfield activities.
Councilor Mann?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to acknowledge the Memorial Day celebration we had here yesterday. There were a lot of people showed up, but there should have been a lot more. And they should have been along the streets as well as on the green. So I think we got to do a better job next year showing you how important this is to our entire community. The remembrances that were made were absolutely heartrending. And it's very important that we know where we came from and why we have the luxury to live the way we do. Other things, the Committee on Committees will be looking to fill some more positions on the Beautification Committee, I believe. So if anybody out there is interested in helping to plant up and make the town look beautiful, please come forward. You can contact the town clerk, and there will be a form, I believe it's still on the website, that you can fill out and explain your interest. Some of the comments tonight. I hope the former council is finished holding our feet to the fire and can stand up behind us and push us forward to where we all need to go together to make this town better. I think there's been quite a bit of sniping, and it doesn't improve the activity or the future of our town. Nothing is easy. Certainly, we're looking back, the successes, there were many failures and successes. We understand that. But we're all in this together. This is our town, and we darn well better start moving it forward in a more positive manner. Lastly, I agree with Councilman McClary. I think an audit for the Board of Education is needed. My first year on council, first year really interacting with the Board of Education on, I would say, at least 5 occasions they made presentations, and at least 5 occasions there were comments made, and at least 5 occasions they were not regarded. So they're listening, but they're not hearing, and these parents are passionate about what they're saying, and they had also an opportunity to speak with the board, and apparently got nowhere with the board in terms of, well, how can you meet us and show us that we're working in that right direction? Difficult issues, I understand, but it's all a matter of attitude and motivation, and we can turn this town around and turn the schools around as long as everybody's willing to do that. But I sensed from comments made over there and elsewhere, this is what we did it last year, this is what we do, this is what we did before. Well, we can't stop doing things we did before and look for new solutions, because for the ones we're coming up with don't seem to be working to everybody's extent, to everybody's satisfaction. At one of the first meetings of the board members, one of the members of the administration got up and said, "Yeah, we just got reported in U.S. News and World Report being number 35 high school in the state of Connecticut." I says, "Oh, really?" And I said to him after that, "Well, I went to the website and looked at the quality of schools in Connecticut, and yeah, I saw that. But then I went down to the next several websites, and all of them showed that the conditions of the schools were quite a bit different than that statement that was made. And that statement that they made about the top 35 high school in the state, resting their entire the school system on that one comment. You go, the other websites will show some of the information you heard here tonight. Now, that has to be addressed. And you just can't go after the flashy, well, News and World Report said, and say we're doing a great job. We're not satisfied. We're not satisfied until everybody gets a good shake and is moving forward. So I think I would support the notion of the audit only because We have not found a way to get the attention of the board. We are a separate entity. We can't go into their budget. We can't recommend line item changes. We can't even recommend what they do. We told them what we hoped they would do, and we said, well, you're not listening, we're not giving you the money. It's not a matter of holding back money that would not go to the students anyway, because it's going mostly to OPEP, in which other services and so forth, and not to teachers and not to more resources and to central office. So they have a responsibility to show the rest of the community that they are responsible in dealing with that situation. So if it takes an audit, and if we can find some legal way to do that, I would support that. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
I just want to start off by saying thank you to everyone that came out tonight, and I also want to echo what Councilman McCleary mentioned about an audit for the schools. I've worked with these parents for a while now, and I feel their pain when they're addressing issues that are not being taken care of. And I know this council has limitations based on the state statutes, but at the same time, we have to put pressure on the Board of Education to make sure we're getting the results. I did my own research. I went online, right, because I got all wound up with this issue with the hamburger and how much it cost. You know what, it was irresponsible, I understand that, and I wouldn't have ordered the burger. And you know, it's a lapse in judgment. And I don't think we should put anyone on the cross or put anyone forward and say this is the person or that. But when you go back to the school system, when we look in the state and we're basically a C- when it comes to education, you should have everyone here with pitchforks screaming and yelling, regardless whether or not you have kids in the school system. That's where the attention should be, not on a lapse in judgment. You know, we apologize for that, but it needs to be there. The other thing that I want to address, and I know I've mentioned it to the town manager, if a staff member who came across a receipt or a purchase of something in excess should have brought that to the town's manager attention. If that person didn't feel that it was something that they could have done, and the best process was to go out and either provide it to a reporter, and then for us to read it in the front page news, to me, we need to really look internally to see what kind of practice we have in place. We need to give our employees the ability to come forth when there is wrongdoing or lapse in judgment. So I know I've mentioned that to the town manager this afternoon, and I hope that he would address that matter, because this was embarrassing that it got to the front page in the first place. Time consuming. I mean, I've received calls, numerous calls saying, you guys are only taking care of this now because you got caught. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not coming here to abuse anything. This was offered to us as a good gesture from the standpoint of this is what the previous councils were doing as far as providing meals to the council members. But we admit it, it's a lapse in judgment. I just hope that we can, going forward, put a policy in place where there's some checks and balances, and someone could review this before it goes out. In addition to that, I want to thank everyone for coming out this weekend. My son and I did the 5K run here in town. He ended up with a trophy for coming in third place in his age group. I just finished the race. I wasn't the last person, so I didn't receive any trophy. But I want to continue to encourage the public to support us. I want to encourage the previous council to, I know it's hard, because I don't like losing. You know, no one likes losing. You know, but I think we have to come together, work together for the best interest of this town. It's easy to look back and talk about what was done, but we have to come together as a unit on this council and in the public, and not try to look for the petty stuff to tarnish this town. I'm proud to be a Bloomfield resident. I love this town. When I was looking for a place to live, Bloomfield was on the top of my list. Okay, I love the diversity, the people here, and for the last week or so, honestly speaking, it was very painful to see what's going on with this town. Not something that's really, it's petty stuff. This is petty stuff to be on the front page. Folks from all parts of this town, we're the laughingstock right now. Laughingstock over a burger. I understand the optics of it, but that shouldn't make any one of us proud. Not a single one of us should be proud of this. Whether or not you're encouraged by this council, or whether or not you feel that it was irresponsible, you should not, if you're home and you're proud of this all, you should be shamed, because this is nothing to be proud of. We could have dealt with this matter behind the scenes if this was brought to our attention. You better believe it. If this was brought to our attention, it would have been dealt with right away. That person would have reimbursed the council for that lapse in judgment. But we didn't get that opportunity. So I thank you for your encouragement. I thank you for your support. And I urge you to continue to come out and support this council. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.
So, yes, ma'am?
Could I just ask one question, just for my own information? Who has the responsibility about putting forth that sort of a story on the front page of the newspaper?
I can answer that.
Who makes that decision?
The editorial board.
That's where
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't the reporter. It's, he was quite surprised when he found it on the front page. It was a human interest story, so that's why they put it there.
I'm sorry,
It was a human interest story. They thought it would be good to read. They have all the, if it bleeds, it leads, and that's, they just thought, oh, this would be great to talk about, so.
So something so negative
That's right.
about a town.
That's what's going to go
Front
first.
page of the Harvard
That's
Current.
right.
Like all of the stupid stuff from Hollywood.
Yeah,
What's the front
yeah.
page of it? What kind of responsibility is that?
All right, sells papers. People like that.
Write a letter. Ma'am, if
Plus, it was the second time.
Yep.
Yeah. Ma'am, if you feel passionate about it, because I did have the same conversation with the reporter this afternoon when I walked in before the admin education, and that was my question to him. How did something like this get past your editorial? He says, hey, this is what happens, man. This is the type of story that makes the news.
That's the answer?
That's it.
Write a letter.
He said,
Yeah.
the editor, that's what they do, man.
The editor of the Harvard Current makes the decision for our nice, sweet little town.
Yep.
To plaster that all over the place.
So I would also like to thank you all for coming out. All the people that were here, I thank you. All the people that stayed here, I really thank you. The council really wants to do what's in the best interest of our town. We were all elected to do that, and we really all want to do that. This council, I believe, is a lot more hands-on than former councils, because we want to make sure that we understand everything that's happening in our town and what we can help to make better. That's our job, and we are all here. The time that we spend, whether it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, the time that we spend, we're investing in our town. This is where we live, and we want to make sure that where we live is the best place to live. We want Bloomfield to bloom. We want people to want to come to Bloomfield, to want to move here, to want to raise their families here, and to want to play here. That's what we want as a council. And, you know, as someone said, we might make some missteps, but please know that we're really trying our best to do what's in the best interest of our town. And you give us fuel. You give us that little boost when it seems like the world has collapsed, because I thought that's what happened when I got the first phone call that my town is on the front page above the fold about a hamburger. I think I was sad for a couple of days. But when you realize that we are doing so much behind the scenes that you all out there probably don't know, it brings me back to reality. It really does. We have seen that there's an issue, and we'll take care of it. Hopefully, even with the situation with the lady and her house, that was heart-wrenching to hear. And I'm hoping that this issue will be taken care of by the end of the week. Right? We're talking about people's lives here. We're talking about the fact that this lady is paying 2 mortgages, she's paying taxes, and she can't get to enjoy her house. That was heartbreaking for me. And that was something that, once again, we didn't know about until tonight. So I'm hoping going forward that we don't get caught off guard anymore. but that we get the information that we should have to try to help the residents of our town. It's easy to throw people under the bus. It's easy to, deflect. But it's our responsibility, and we have to do something. And I believe that we're committed to doing that. And with your help, we will make Bloomfield all that it's supposed to be. And we will get back on the front page of the Hartford Courant for something better. We will continue to listen to our parents because our children are the future, and they need all the help that they can get. And everyone else that comes to our council, you are being heard. We are listening to you. So thank you for participating, and have a wonderful evening. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Meeting's adjourned.